Hey Virgo, you came back in the middle of everything. All the noise, all the unfinished things. You stopped and you pressed play. Maybe that means something. Maybe it doesn't. But you're here now. And so is this. There's someone you already know who came to mind just now. You didn't have to think about it. The name or maybe just the feeling of them, it was already there, waiting just beneath the surface, like it had been there for a while. Like some part of you has been circling this person without fully admitting it. Um, and there's something about them that doesn't quite add up. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way you could easily explain to someone else. It's more like texture, the way certain conversations end too quickly, the way certain questions get redirected, the way their eyes do something specific when a particular subject comes up, small things, things you noticed but maybe told yourself you were imagining. Um, but you weren't imagining, were you? There's a particular kind of knowing that lives in the body before it reaches the mind. You've felt it, that quiet tightening somewhere in your chest or your stomach when something is off, when the words being said and the thing actually happening don't quite match. And you've learned, maybe the hard way, to talk yourself out of that feeling, to call it paranoia, to call it overthinking, to smooth it over with logic and reason and the benefit of the doubt, because the alternative is harder. The alternative means sitting with the possibility that someone close to you, someone you've trusted, someone you've let in, might be holding something back, something significant, something that, if you knew it, would change the way you see them or the way you see yourself in relation to them. And that's not a comfortable place to sit. So you didn't sit there. Most of the time, you kept moving. You kept things light. You asked the questions that had safe answers and quietly avoided the ones that didn't. Not because you're weak, not because you don't care about the truth, but because there's a kind of peace, fragile, yes, maybe even false, that comes from not knowing. And sometimes that peace feels necessary. Sometimes it feels like the only thing holding certain parts of your life together. But here's what's strange about hidden things: they don't stay still, they move. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, but they move. They leak into small moments, into the quality of a silence, into the specific way someone changes the subject, into the things that are always almost said but never quite are. And over time, over enough time, the accumulation of those almost moments starts to feel like something something you can't keep naming as coincidence. And maybe you've started to notice the pattern, not just the individual moments, but the shape they make together. The way this person shows up fully in certain contexts and becomes somehow smaller in others, more careful, more constructed, like there are two versions of them. The one they offer you and the one that exists in the spaces they keep just out of reach. And you've probably told yourself that everyone has private spaces. That's true. Everyone carries things they don't share. That's not deception, that's just being human. But there's a difference, and it's a difference you can feel even if you can't always articulate it, between someone who has a private inner life and someone who is specifically, carefully keeping something from you. One feels like depth, the other feels like distance. And you know which one this is, don't you? The question that's harder, the one that might actually be keeping you up at night, isn't really about them. It's about you. It's about what it means that you've known on some level, in some quiet part of yourself, for longer than you've admitted. And you stayed, and you continued, and you gave them more of yourself, even as some part of you was already sensing the gap, already feeling the thing that wasn't being said is less than #0. 5# is greater than. Why does someone do that? Why does a person keep investing in something they can already feel is incomplete? There are easy answers. Love, loyalty, fear of being wrong, fear of being right. But underneath those, underneath the easy answers, there's usually something quieter. Something that has less to do with them and more to do with a story you've been telling yourself about who you are, about what you deserve, about how much uncertainty you're supposed to just absorb. Because somewhere, and this might be uncomfortable to hear, somewhere you learn that love or closeness or connection comes with a certain amount of not knowing. That you're supposed to fill in the gaps with trust. That asking too many questions makes you difficult. That noticing too much makes you paranoid. And so you trained yourself quietly over time to notice less, to need less, to accept the version of things you were given, even when it felt like a version with something missing. And that right there might be the darker thing, not what they're hiding, but what you've been hiding from yourself, the quiet accommodation, the slow shrinking of your own instincts to make room for someone else's comfort. The way you've become over time very good at pretending not to see things that you very clearly see. That's not weakness. Is less than #0. 5# is greater than. It's important to say that. That's not weakness, it's a strategy. A strategy that probably made sense at some point. That kept something intact. That kept the peace. That allowed you to stay in something that had value, even alongside the uncertainty. Strategies like that don't come from nowhere. They come from experience, from learning what happens when you push too hard, when you ask the wrong question at the wrong time, when the truth turns out to be something you couldn't unknow. So you learned to live alongside the almost knowing in that particular gray space where you're not certain enough to act, but not ignorant enough to be at peace. And that space That gray suspended space has its own kind of cost. You pay it slowly, in small withdrawals, in the energy it takes to keep not asking, in the low grade tension that's just become background noise. And maybe you've gotten so used to that tension that you've stopped recognizing it as tension. It just feels like how things are, like the normal weight of being close to this particular person, like something you just carry without questioning whether you have to. But here's a different angle. Just sit with this for a moment. What if the hiding isn't about you? What if whatever this person is holding back has roots that go deeper than your relationship with them? What if it's something they haven't fully faced themselves? Something that predates you, something tangled up in who they are in ways that have nothing to do with how they feel about you. People carry things, old things, heavy things, and sometimes the hiding isn't strategic. Sometimes it's just all they know how to do with it. That doesn't make it not a problem. It doesn't make the gap disappear, but it might change the texture of it slightly. It might make it feel less like a betrayal and more like a limitation. And limitations are different from lies. They're not always chosen. They're not always malicious. Sometimes they're just the edges of what someone is capable of right now in this version of themselves. And the harder question, the one that might keep circling back, is whether you can live with those edges, whether the parts of this person that are present and real and genuinely yours are enough alongside the parts that are held back. That's not a question anyone can answer for you. It barely feels like a question you can answer for yourself right now. And that's okay. It doesn't need an answer tonight. What you might need is just to stop pretending you don't feel what you feel. To stop calling your instincts paranoia. To stop shrinking your perception down to a size that's more comfortable for everyone else. Because your awareness, the thing in you that notices, that picks up on texture and tone and the weight of unspoken things, is less than #0. 5 hash is greater than. That's not a flaw. That's not something to be managed or quieted. That's actually one of the most honest things about you. And it's been trying to tell you something for a while now, in the only language it has, which is feeling, which is that low, persistent sense that something is present in this relationship that hasn't been named yet. Something real. Something that exists whether you look at it or not. And maybe, just maybe, the most significant shift isn't about them at all. Maybe it's about you deciding quietly, privately, in a moment just like this one, that your own perception is worth trusting. That what you feel is data. That the gap you sense is real even without proof. That you don't need certainty to take your own experience seriously. Because the shock, if there is one, might not come from what they reveal. It might come from the moment you stop needing them to the moment you realize that you already know enough, that you've known enough for longer than you've admitted, and that the only thing left is deciding what to do with that, knowing not tonight, maybe, maybe not even soon, but the knowing is there. It has been for a while. Quiet, patient, in the same way you've been quiet and patient, waiting for you to stop looking away and start looking at it clearly, without flinching, just this once. Uh, just this once